All right. This is Marcus back with the third episode of 2019. The original idea was to do a Suspiria podcast. That's what we were promoting this week. But due to life, a few people had to drop out. And I want to keep the original people I had intended. So we're going to postpone that one for now. But what's cool is that recently I completed the Netflix's season of The Haunting of Hill House. That is the third adaptation of the famous novel. The first one being the black and white Will Castle production. And then in the 2000s with John DeBont's The Haunting film. So this is the third adaptation from Netflix. And today I am joined by some of the original guests we had intended for the Suspiria podcast. First, we have someone I've known a long while now. And I have always respected her opinion on horror films. And that is C. We say hello, C.
Hello.
And as well, I am joined by my lovely girlfriend, Cheyenne.
Hello, everyone.
Whose opinion I respect on anything that's creative.
Goodness.
Whether it's books or films, she always has an opinion, and I like her opinions.
Oh, all right.
So yeah, this is the third adaptation of The Haunting of Hill House, and before we get into that, we have a thing. Me and my co-pilot Hector's missing tonight, but our thing with new guests who come on, just as introductory question, we just like to see whether you love or hate the horror genre. There might be that one movie, whether it was when you were young, when you were older, when you were a teenager. What was the horror movie you first saw? We were like, okay, I could dig this genre. What was like, and when me and Hector answered this question, we stuck with the ones where we were just like, the horror genre is fun. Because before I got into horror films, I didn't like them as a kid. They made me nervous. They made me scared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But eventually, I stumbled across that one horror movie where I can acknowledge that, they can be fun. I wasn't scared anymore.
Yeah.
So my example was Halloween 2, the original sequel. The first film scared the shit out of me. But the second one, when I watched that, I was like, oh, this is fun. Like, there's a blueprint to horror films here.
Right.
For Hector, it was Clive Barker's Nightbreed.
Oh,
he
yeah,
looked
that's
at
a
it
good
very
one.
creative. It inspired him. He loved the look of it. So for you guys, what was... You could say whether you love the horror genre or don't like it, but what was the one horror film where you're like, okay, this is the first horror film where you're like, okay, this is a cool genre. This is interesting. I'm into it. Maybe I'll watch other horror movies. We'll start with C.
Okay, well, for me, I remember exactly when I got into the horror genre was when I was, I was a preteen, I think, and I decided I was like, I want to give these horror movies a chance, because I started getting really into movies, and that was a genre where I kind of stayed away because I was a kid, like you were saying, like they made me nervous, all that kind of thing, and I was like, I want to give it a chance, but my parents were like, my mom was like, I don't like horror movies, so I don't want to be around for that, kind of thing. I went to go stay with my uncles for a week or so. And my dad was like, my brothers have this huge horror, movie collection,
So
and
your
they've got
brothers liked horror films.
yeah, exactly. And so he was like, go stay with them, for the week, just binge some horror movies and see if you like it.
Yeah.
And so my uncles knew exactly what to start with. They're like, let's start with these movies, and
They were
it was
educated.
Yeah, and they were like, okay, let's start with Nightmare on Elm Street.
Which is a shirt you're wearing right now.
Yeah, exactly. Freddy Krueger.
All right.
And so I think that was the movie, really, that I was like, I can really enjoy this. And they eased me into. They were like, let's start with some thrillers, like Panic Room, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then, Nightmare on Elm Street, and then I think I ended the week with The Exorcist.
Wow.
But that was really where I started to, because I got to watch it with these people that had this love for horror movies, and the education behind it and everything.
That's a strong film. 'Cause like I mean, they showed you thrillers, they showed you other films, but that one, I mean, it's a movie that's rooted in your dreams, the psychology behind it.
Yes, exactly. Like afraid to like go to sleep and stuff.
There's that fantastical element too, because you're in the dreams, and in those movies, the dream sequences are nuts.
Yeah.
They're imaginative. They're creative. So that's cool. It captured your imagination. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. So that was the like true. I considered that like the more like horror movie of the ones that they showed me. Also the ones that in like the kind of thriller genre were like the Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal. Yes. Which I love those ones. And I guess those can kind of...
They're horror films.
Yeah, no, they're absolutely horror films. But like Nightmare on Elm Street is the one that I always consider to be the one that... I consider to be the one.
Is that your favorite horror film? Do you have a favorite? It's a loaded question, I know.
Yeah, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
But I think that was a very influential one.
Yeah, that was a major introduction for you.
Yes, absolutely.
That's cool. Okay. And Cheyenne?
Oof. Okay. I will say that I've never sort of claimed to be a horror person. Generally, I mean, I've been more educated within the past 2 years just from knowing Marcus and from dating you and sort of being forced to in a way it's a really good thing too, because I've learned a lot about sort of like the art of the horror genre. Although I would say I've always been a very big fan of like horror in the form of like literature or like any kind of book. Really, I've totally always been down for reading a variety of different things.
You love the Interview with the Vampire.
That's oh my god, Anne Rice, damn. Yeah. People shit on those books all the time. I just love those books so much. So I've always definitely been into a very like gothic, creepy vibe coming from like a fictional standpoint in books.
Gothic.
That was sort of like my scene. I guess when I think about like the first, and I come from, my family was like hardcore, like crazy, sort of weird Christians. I remember I had to beg and plead and cry to go see Harry Potter. And my grandma like highlighted all of like the weird stuff in Harry Potter and why I shouldn't believe that it was real. Yeah, so I
crazy.
Yeah, so I didn't have it's weird. So I didn't have a lot of horror movies in my life growing up, but one of my best friends, who I've known this whole time, I'm still friends with her. We met each other when we were 5 years old. She lived across the street from me, and it was my first real sleepover. And she was just, we would get in so much fucking trouble. But we went up into her attic one night. This is the first time I ever went over to her house. We watched Night of the Living Dead on VHS on this old TV that was up in her attic. And that for me was like, I guess it was my first
black and white version?
Yes, it was. Okay. It was black and white. That was I guess my real first experience like having fun while being scared. So that was like in the first horror movie that I remember actually seeing was Night of the Living Dead. And then after that, I think the only one that I really enjoyed, I really liked The Skeleton Key. That was like good. I don't know if it's necessarily considered a horror movie.
It's a horror.
Yeah, Kate Hudson. I mean, it's like more of a thriller. I just like the way that it kind of reminded me of a book in a way, like the way that the characters were developed, the history behind everything. And in a way, it kind of reminded me of Anne Rice, because it was like that.
The New Orleans.
That southern New Orleans, gothic kind of scary feeling, and that definitely, for me, when I think of that movie, I guess I think that's like the first horror movie that I really enjoyed.
I gotta revisit that one. That one people are saying revisit. So I gotta watch that one.
I liked that one. I saw it in theaters, and I haven't seen it since theaters, but I did enjoy that one.
Yeah.
I like the whole, the voodoo kind of
I love
aspect
voodoo.
of it.
Oh my god. I am all about the dark
voodoo
magic.
doll over there. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. On
That's
my
cool.
little altar over there.
There is an altar over there.
Yeah.
You can see C's gothic horror vibe in here, which is cool.
It's a nice setting. Yeah, It's very homey.
So, okay, you guys picked two choices. Nightmare on Elm Street and Night of the Living Dead and Skeleton Key. I mean, as far as Night of the Living Dead and Nightmare, those are two strong, they're considered classics in cinema. So those are great choices. Skeleton Key is one I definitely want to revisit. I hear rumblings that people are saying, watch that one again. All right, cool. Good answers. Now, The Haunting of Hill House. This is my first time. I don't think I've ever written a review, let alone do a podcast about a television show. That's different from the format of a movie. A movie, you got your 2 hour, 1 hour and a half, 2 hour format. Haunting of Hill House it's 10 episodes.
10 episodes.
10 episodes.
Maybe we should do 10 episodes of the podcast.
We could.
Sure.
You could.
We honestly could.
This show.
If this had been better planned, we could have done that.
Yeah. We could still, I guess.
Yeah.
It's definitely one, which is a great idea. This is a show that, like you guys said, is very complex. It's very layered thematically and then just stylistically. The creative choices behind the show as well as the storytelling. I'll go into my thoughts later, but let's just start with just your... Did you guys... Because I knew it was being marketed before it came out. Were you guys privy to any of the marketing that came out? Like, was there any anticipation?
Not at all for me.
No.
No, I opened up Netflix one day and I saw it and I thought, I don't want to watch that. I really did. I was like, damn. I already have enough anxiety in my life. I'm not sure if I want to open myself.
Well, we watched it,
this.
right? Did we just...
Yeah.
The first two episodes.
We watched the first 3 episodes together, and then we were like, you know what? We're adults. We're too busy. We can't watch this together.
Yeah. And that's what I'll say about TV shows. If I sound a little rusty about, like, I've never done this before, but TV shows are tough on me generally.
Yeah.
There's maybe in the past decade, maybe 1 or 2 shows, which I'm thinking is like Entourage and Sons of Anarchy, where I actually stuck with it every week, whatever new episode it is. Now we live in the age where they drop they drop the whole episode on you, and you got to watch the 10-hour plus length time of these things. So let's open up with just the story in general. What were your guys' how'd you feel about the story? Played out the characters.
Well, it's a
loaded question.
I think that if you even take the horror aspect out of the story, it's an amazing family drama. Just with them and all of their, the character development throughout all of this is just extremely well done. First of all, the casting is really good.
Amazing.
And it was just, I ended up caring about the characters and wanting to see where they went and hoping certain things about the show. And that's, in the grand scheme of things, exactly, the goal of making a TV show is getting people, invested. So... I think, for me, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. 100%.
Because there are a lot of shows that do come out, the family dramas and whatnot. It's not like... It's a very specific genre of the family drama.
Well, I think they kind of surprised you with making it a family drama.
Yeah.
I didn't really see that.
Exactly. That's... And when I... first heard about this film, it's just I started hearing people say like, "Oh, you're into like horror. Have you watched the Haunting of Hill House?" And I was like, "Is that like a take on the Haunting on Houses Hill?"
Haunting on Houses Hill.
Loosely inspired, yes, loosely inspired.
But like then when I the first episode I watched, I was like. I was like, I'm just gonna watch like 1 episode, and then like 5 hours later, I had watched half the season.
Right.
I think that's how we walked into it. I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's watch the first episode. Oh. Okay.
It was definitely like, I just enjoyed how some of it was just like, they make you curious about the backstory of a lot of these characters, and then they'll throw in these subtle things where it's like, oh, that's creepy. Oh, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit. That's actually pretty fucking scary.
I know, dude. Like,
but it's only every once in a while. It's not like they're trying to scare you.
And
the
like
whole
this,
time.
like it's so like the pop out like kind of scares are kind of cheap. In my opinion, that's it's so
that comes
easy
with
to
seeing
do.
So many horror films now.
Exactly.
Yeah, so how do you
What I fucking love about this show is like there's just ghosts blurry in the background.
It's incredibly subtle.
In every scene.
Yeah.
And you see it, and you're like, that's a fucking ghost, and they just sit there.
Yeah.
And they're just still.
Even with, like, the
and
last
that
episode.
is creepier
Yeah.
than, like, any pop-out scare. Just, like, being like, that's a fucking... And then you're, like, looking the entire time you're watching.
With no explanation.
Yeah, with no
No
explanation.
Like,
And that's
there's
like,
something
in
there.
a way, that's what they wanted to do, like, with this whole universe that they created with these people. It's like, they're acknowledging the fact that they live in a space where there's ghosts everywhere, no matter where you go.
Yeah.
So, in a way, it's kind of telling the audience, like, you're watching this right now, and you don't know who's in your house.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's watching this episode with you right now.
Right, exactly.
Probably
exactly.
multiple people. You don't know.
Exactly. And then of course the ghosts are like metaphor for like your own like issues and your family drama or your drug addiction or your alcoholism or your insomnia or whatever. It's that's what the ghosts are, just like they're just there.
That's what I'll say about this. As far as the story itself, that's what I like about the world building, the storytelling of the series, is that just from how it's formatted, you open up the whole season with this crazy night. What these kids are being rushed out of the house.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's showing. That's the first episode, basically.
Yeah.
And the rest you see it in movies where a movie will show an event in the beginning of the film, and then the rest of the film is you're seeing the different perspectives of what happened that night. And that's kind of how this show plays out. Each episode, it felt like this is one you got to revisit because I missed a lot of nuances in the whole thing. But every episode kind of devotes itself to a family member.
Yeah.
Except for the one episode where they're in the funeral parlor and that's all of them together.
That was such a
Oh my
powerful
God.
episode.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that episode. That episode more than anything is the one I want to talk specifically about. But the story really, I think that one of you said at the beginning of this, the heart of that show is that we see a lot of family dramas in a lot of shows.
Yeah.
It's a very regular trope in television. And that's why at first I thought the show, I was like, okay, there's something interesting going on here, but I'm like, I didn't expect the family drama at all.
Right.
I
Yeah.
thought it was
Yeah.
gonna-
Yeah. Exactly.
I thought it was going to be a
Same with me.
nonstop, like, carnival ride of scares. His family's in the house. So I was like, okay, this is going to be a story I got to be patient with. We're going to go into family dynamics. We're going to... The ghosts are all analogies for what's going on in this family's life. The acting with everyone involved made the trope of being a family drama feel refreshing and new, because every character... I like that you guys... I have my favorite character. You guys have your favorite characters. People who talk about shows like that, when they mention when they can discuss who their favorite characters are, I think are very strong shows.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of characters you're going... Whether you hate them, whether you love them, you feel that way because the acting is fucking phenomenal.
Yeah. Very
Everyone
true.
is...
Yes, yes.
If she's being a crazy, angry woman and it unnerves you, it's because she's selling it.
Yes.
If he's coming off as very just empathetic or very or wimpy or what have you, that's because they're selling it to you.
Yes.
So the whole show, because I'm not going to lie, there came one moment, I think in the second or third episode, and that's probably why I took a pause on it, where I was like, I don't want to watch another family drama. But then I told myself this year, I'm going to watch nothing but new shows instead of watching Office every day. And I stuck with this when I watched it, and then it dawned on me, I'm like, the acting in this is stellar. And that's why I love the storytelling. Might have been seen before, but the acting is just so fucking good that I was on board. I cared about every single damn character. And there were characters that bothered me where I'm just like, I don't agree with you, but I'm feeling this way because you're convincing me of your craziness or your sadness or what have you.
Absolutely.
They really took it there with the trauma that an individual can go through
Yeah.
after facing something that's like unexplainable or absurd
Yeah.
or heartbreaking. And it shows that humans, like, you have to deal with it in your own way, and not everybody goes through something the same way. And so all of them being so different is really something that is phenomenal about the show.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it can relate to such a huge platform of people just by presenting those individual, perspectives on one situation, one night, really, like you had said before. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That nails it, but we're a show that's so supernatural, so theatrical, so dramatic, they capture the humanity
Oh yeah.
of people.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was very smart of them to not advertise it that way.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
It just kind of blindsided you.
Yeah. So we agreed. Story is good.
Story's
Yes.
good. Acting is good.
Mm-hmm.
So now we'll dovetail into. I'm a very visual person.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the movies that I love more than anything else
Are
visually stimulating
Yes,
to
yes.
me. If you look at my top, one day I'm going to share my top 10, but they're all very visually stimulating
Yes.
films. And so
Me too.
with The Haunting of Hill House, I was blown away more than anything else by the visual story, the set design,
Yes.
special effects, the costumes,
The costumes!
makeup, everything.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on the look of the show?
Okay, so
And I'm gonna make my first bowl.
I think the mother. What was her name? Hold on.
Carla Gugino?
Yes.
What was it?
Olivia.
I will say I forget the names of all these characters.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
I wrote them all
Were you writing
down
down?
before the podcast
I
started.
was
Okay,
wondering if you were
that's a
taking
really
notes
good
there.
idea.
I've got them all right
Note
here.
taking is great. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So I'm pretty sure Olivia's the mother,
Okay, wonderful.
Okay.
and her costume design, her hair,
Yes. Oh my
everything
God.
about the fact that the dress. Did you?
That's
Anybody
true.
else notice the dress she wore with the tennis shoes?
That's true. I never
Like
thought of
she wore a long, like flowy dress. In every scene, she wears like a long flowy dress.
Yeah.
And then, but then there's one scene where she wears that with the tennis shoes, and I'm just like, that is like that's goals in life right there. If I'm ever that pretty at that
Yeah.
age in life,
That's kind of true. I mean, she's walking through this huge house that is just absurdly beautiful,
Yeah.
regardless of whether it's evil or not. Who cares if you own that kind of real estate?
Right,
But
yeah.
you're absolutely right. I didn't really think about the fact that she's just a woman
yeah,
walking around her house wearing a pretty nightgown and some fucking tennis shoes.
yeah, I know.
that. Do you guys know what era when that whole event happened? I think it's like, was it supposed to be like 70s
It's
era or
70s.
80s or something like that? Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and-
it's a period piece when it goes.
I would
back
say
in-
like late 70s.
So it's I
I
never
think
noticed.
it was 80s. Yeah,
Really?
It has to be somewhere there.
Yeah, yeah,
70s
yeah.
or 80s.
because they
But
did the bed sheets. I'll talk about the bed sheets in a minute.
She's a pivotal character in the story, but that's why I love the podcast, is that everyone else looks of their time.
Mm-hmm.
She does have like a very Victorian Gothic feel to her with the way her whole look is.
Yes,
And she's the matriarch of the family.
Yes.
Almost as if her
good.
character and the way
I
that
didn't-
she was as a person, especially if you dive into who she was before she had died,
Mm-hmm.
being a very like spiritually open person who could sense certain things beyond, the grave or whatever. It's almost as if she had always been destined to be a ghost.
Yeah.
In the way where she sort of
Exactly.
fits,
That's cool.
she sort
Yeah.
of fits into all of her environments, and she sees things for what they are.
Yeah.
And she's just a presence that's there, and she guides people and she has relationships with people. But in the end, she's not meant to stay in like a natural human world.
Exactly. And by the way, this is a spoilers, like...
You can say
like,
spoilers.
Okay.
Yeah, we
all
already
right.
we
Oh,
warned
yeah.
that shit.
Podcast,
No.
right. Yeah. No, for sure.
Say
No,
what you want.
but it is... And also about her, though, I love... I know we're talking about, like, more, like, the visual stuff right now, but I have to go back to, like, her character and, like, what, like, great parents they were.
Oh my god.
In the show where they care so much. They've got like 1 million kids. Like I don't know how, and like nobody that good looking has that many kids. I like and isn't a fucking architect and like
They're flipping houses.
They're flipping
They're
houses.
taking family everywhere.
Like
flipping
how
houses.
does it? That
Eccentric.
doesn't and like looks like that doesn't happen. I mean, maybe it probably does, but we all hate those people.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
But it's cool because you
But,
don't
like-
see that in film or shows. I never seen a family like that before. It almost felt like a Partridge Family film or some shit. Like this is an eccentric new age family.
Yeah.
Right, that is a good point to bring up because, like, I feel like with something, I mean, overall, with something that ends in disaster like that.
Yeah.
And you tie in the phrase family drama with all
Right,
of it.
yeah.
It becomes this thing where it's like, okay, these people fucked up their kids.
Ye-
In some way. In some way, shape, or form. But in a way, they really tie it back in. The house fucked them up.
The house fucked them up.
Yeah, totally.
But like,
and they were good parents and they loved each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they made it known to their kids that they loved each other.
I know, and they even say in that last episode, that gets me, the line where he says, where she's talking about, like, you took them from me, and the
job of a parent, we gotta set
yeah,
them in the world.
he says that's that's what happens.
Yeah.
We have to watch it. We have to watch them through addiction or sadness or
The ups
trauma
and
or
downs.
whatever. And then he says, but it's not all bad.
Yeah.
And then like
we have to bear witness. That's what he says.
Yes, we have to bear witness, and then like it's not all bad. Like I watched our daughter like get married, and our love was so great that the light spread into the universe and created something so great.
Very intense visuals, like just the two of them together alone talking about how much they love each other.
Exactly,
and they're making all of these extreme examples. And it's just. She's dead, and he's there in this haunted house, and they're just like, "Oh, I love you."
I know. They were like amazing, like parents together.
Totally, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we'll segue then.
Okay.
We both.
Okay.
I think we're obviously into the visual look of it. We're into the visual.
You talk to us
but this is the next thing I wanted to talk about.
Okay,
She segued perfectly. Visually, the show is amazing.
Yeah.
If you're into like gothic.
It captures
sort
it,
of.
yeah.
And the visuals of the house itself are like amazing. I want to live in that house. 100.
Yes.
Everybody does.
Everybody.
Like
should.
100%. And the visuals of the house is a metaphor too.
Yes. There's a lot going on
Yes.
with the visuals in this show. So much so that I'd say the repeat viewing for me is to just observe and study just the visualness of it. And I know I didn't catch all the ghosts. I think they released a number of how many ghosts are in the show.
There's YouTube videos you can show, and it's like
down.
and it like circles all the little ghosts.
Because I was studying, I was trying to, but then you get caught up in the story because you haven't seen it.
I know, yeah.
But I think that's good that you brought all that up, because that's the next thing I want to talk about is what the segues into. None of us are parents here.
No.
But
I have cats.
Yeah. There you got cats.
I have a fish named Sake. He's 3 years old.
I love when I see, because there's a lot of movies that I see, that deal with it. The family drama is always a tough one for me to watch because some of it comes off very just melodramatic, just too over the top. For me. But this one, I think, really what I loved about it, because like I said at first, I was like, this is another it's an analogy for family. God damn, I've seen this before.
Yeah.
But in this one, it really captured the emotions, and I cannot know for the life of me what it's like to be a father right now. I don't, because I'm not in that arena.
Right, yeah.
But for whatever reason, this show definitely captured the stress, the huge amount of responsibility and the pressure you have as a parent, because the whole show is an analogy of like, at first I was really frustrated with the father figure, because it's like, dude, just be fucking honest and tell your kids. But then it's like the balance is how do you break your child's heart? How do you tell them just dark shit? How do you just tell them this is the world and it's fucking ugly? The job of a parent is almost daunting to me in my head. Yeah. I'm like, fuck, man, that would be a hell of a job. And this show, like great films before it, really captures the emotion and the anxiety and the beauty and just the complexities of being a fucking parent.
Yeah.
That last episode, the conversation you brought, where between the mother and father, I'll say personally, that's what scares me in the future of sharing, having a child with someone is like the complexity of like how do we do this together? Because she was she wanted to protect them from every evil in the world, and he said to him, there's beauty in seeing the evil and the beauty of the world. There's balance, but it's crazy. Like,
absolutely.
But neither of them is wrong.
Yeah.
Neither of them is fucking wrong. Like, and that's a daunting challenge where, like, I watched the show and it made me think, like, fuck, man, that's going. One day I may be a parent, and that's going to be a hell of a fucking job. Hell of a job.
I mean, and that's the terrifying thing about deciding to be a parent is what if my kid is a fuck up? What if my kid ends up on drugs? Or something like that. And
because you don't want the worst to happen to them. You
exactly.
Don't. I get that.
Exactly. You don't. What do you do?
Where's the compromise?
Exactly.
But I think when it comes down, because you had said that they sort of had opposite perspectives of how they should raise their kids, right? Especially in the end episode. Again, spoiler. She's dead.
Yeah.
She's a ghost, and she's talking to her husband. I don't want to be alone. I want you guys to be back here with me, which basically means you need to be dead here with me in this house. And he's saying, nothing bad or good will happen to us. And in the end of the day, it's better that we're exposed to bad things and have good things happen to us. But if you go back in other episodes, she's influenced by a lot of really evil, negative forces putting that idea into her mind. So at the same time, it's sort of like the house is putting that into her mind. And even after she's dead... reinforcing that idea into her mind, saying no matter what, you have to stay here. This is the safe spot. This is the place you need to be. And he had even said to her in that last conversation, you used to say we need to send our kids off sailing into the world. She's like, that's just a dream. That was nothing. So it's like they both had that same reality. At one point in time, they both really were facing the hard reality of being a parent and knowing that they did both have to just see what happened at the end of the day. And that's why they were so eccentric. Why else would you move your kids around into different houses every other year and be so pretty? Come on. How would you get, they don't talk about the trauma of having such a pretty mom.
Right.
God damn.
But yeah, you guys are nailing it. The show's strength is one of its many strengths is just showing. I loved how it made me feel. It made me think about being a parent. It did. The show did do
absolutely.
that. And that's a powerful family drama.
Yeah,
putting yourself in their shoes.
Yes.
But in general, the show. I think it's a good representation of humanity, both the good and the bad.
Yes.
There's just so much beauty in that show, and I love. I'm a sucker. I need a strong film to me has to have a positive message because I have to believe in that. I believe in the good in humanity. And so in this show, what I loved is that it even frustrates you in certain scenes where it's just like, fuck, man, get it together. Be honest, love each other. But that's easier said than done.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
And the show just kind of reminded me that there's balance in this world. As much ugliness, as much frustration, as much sadness, as much hate, there's just as much beauty and love. Because that show culminates in that scene with Nell where she's just, she's telling them, we have always loved each other. And I've always loved you through the good and the bad.
Can we talk about the monologue for a second?
That's a beautiful monologue.
I will cry.
The last scene, or one of the last scenes when they're all the siblings are all in the red room together.
Yes.
And Nell has her monologue.
Yes.
I think what is so important about it, first of all, it has such a poetic flow.
It's very poetic.
Very poetic. I mean, it's absolutely.
From the moment she starts talking.
Yes.
If
you notice, she starts out, the first lines that she says are the answers to all of their questions.
Yes.
That they each say in the end of all of her talking. So she already knows what they're all going to say, and she answers them right off the bat. And then she goes into her flow of her explaining everything. And then what I like about it most is that when she's talking, she's explaining how time doesn't go the way that we think it does.
Yeah.
So for her, she's living in this totally different reality. Of time.
Yes.
So she knows she's probably having multiple different conversations with them. She's
accessing it all at the same time, all their thoughts, all the emotions.
And it's so beautiful to see it from a human perspective, from all of them who are in that nasty, moldy ass, scary, dank room. And she's just there, telling them, like, this is what I'm seeing right now, and I know for a fact that you guys are going to get out of here, and this is just our last words.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be scary. It's beautiful.
And that they all have their regrets about her death.
Yes.
And then she
answers them.
And she's like, it doesn't matter. We loved each other, and the rest is confetti.
Forgiveness is one.
Yes.
Forgiveness is one. And that's what I like. That it culminated in such a... I get it. We all have our own stories with our families. We have our own separate trials and tribulations with our family. But at the end of the day, when I get frustrated, when I get sad, when I get angry, it's like I got to remind myself, like, but these are my fucking people. This is my blood. We're of the same. Like, these are people who genetically are connected to me. Like, science and spirituality, it all can prove it. You gotta be there for them, man. Through the fucking, through the bad, through the beautiful. When they're at their low, I've been at my lowest plenty of times in this lifetime, and I still have family that supports me. Just like I've seen ugly shit in my family, and people have made bad choices. I still support them. You know, this film captured that, where it's like, they might be shitheads, but they're your shitheads. So, like the father said, if nothing else, be kind.
Yeah.
And that to me, that's what I liked about the whole family dynamic of the story, the complexities of being a parent or what have you. All of it, family drama, is just being human. There's a beautiful, powerful message in this show. There can't be love without hate.
Yeah.
There can't be good without kindness, or good without, sadness. It's all a balance. And the show really captured that perfectly for me. So
yeah, absolutely.
Great segue. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is my absolute favorite episode, which I'd love to know what you guys' favorite episodes are as well. But this one I definitely want to focus on from the cinematic viewpoint of it to the story viewpoint of it. The fucking when they go Nell's
funeral.
Funeral parlor episode.
Which
I almost wish we revisited that.
Yeah, I know.
That's a great episode.
I
to
know,
watch.
dude.
I think we
should we put that on right
now? We fucked up. This is gonna be the end of this podcast. We'll be back.
Just from my viewpoint, and I definitely want to hear you guys' perspectives on it. Thematically, storytelling, I like how it plays out because the family's all together and you're kind of getting a taste of all their perspectives.
Yes.
For the first time.
They're seeing their father. Because I think there's a lot of build up to that episode because you've seen all their stories and then they all culminate there.
Yes. It changed up the format.
It did. Yeah, it's almost like this is the midway point and get ready, we're going to start knocking your socks off.
And that's when it got very chaotic. Because all of them are together, and that's a lot of different energies. It's
an overwhelming episode.
Yeah, it
is.
In
a lot of ways. And I will say it's also one of the scariest episodes for me. Because when the fucking storm or whatever hits, supernatural, whatever that fucking was, the lights go out and they're just having creepy moments.
Yes.
And it's also an emotional show because you just have that one episode where they're all sitting there in chairs in front of Nell. Yeah. And they're slowly... I won't say reconnecting, but they're sharing each other's past stories or experiences. You're seeing all the emotions come up. A hell of an episode. And I want to revisit it because I know there's powerful things in that episode that I can't recall right now. But in general, what were your guys' thoughts on that episode?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just from like a filmmaking aspect, the one shot, the one take sequence is just a very powerful sequence,
Makes you feel like you're there.
Yeah. Exactly. And
from a ghost perspective.
Or from a ghost perspective, exactly. It's very real, and you admire, the art that goes into filmmaking. Of these people had to, even if it was very well edited, they still had to go a very long period of time with getting every line blocking.
It stands out.
Correct. For,
the
like
right
a stage
facial
play.
expression.
Yeah.
Just...
like watching a stage play.
I watched that one with you.
And
I right away comment. I was like, "Ooh, the way the camera's moving."
Yeah. There hasn't been a single.
I remember that too because you were doing something and I would be like, "Pay attention." Some serious shit.
Yeah, I know. There's some shit happening.
For sure.
I'm always multitasking, but I'm watching people.
Yeah, multitasking.
But it did catch my eye.
Yeah.
My question is, what kind of... It evoked emotions in me. I won't say it was comforting at times. It was scary at times. It was
And then-
awkward at times. Like
but then-
you felt like you're amongst a family
Yeah.
dynamic, and you're like, I shouldn't be listening to this conversation. That's how I felt. I'm like, I feel like
Yes.
I'm in the middle of a family, and I don't want to be here right now. I want to go outside and
Yeah.
let them hash this shit out.
I know.
And then it gets creepy. It gets sad. It gets.
I know, and I love when they cut to then back in the house, and then they're like following around, the mom,
Oh, when it cuts to Hill House.
When it cuts to Hill House,
yeah.
and then they
Seamlessly.
to the storm there, and then they
seamlessly always cut back to the house.
Yeah.
Without missing, like, not without cutting though. Like, there'd be moments where they're walking, and then the lighting just changes, and you're like, oh shit! Like, it caught me off guard. Like, are they back in the house?
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Yes,
like,
exactly.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, everybody's young again.
I remember that scene where the father, he goes to see Nell for the first time. He sees her body.
Yes.
And...
Exactly.
That's how the scene felt.
Oh, yes.
He gets there and it's awkward, and it's like this beautiful moment where it's his first words with his kids, and the camera's constantly rotating.
Yeah.
So it shows from the kids' perspective for all the siblings, their perspective first, and goes back to the dad, and then when it goes back around, they're all kids again.
Yes, yes.
That was a really crazy moment. And then with going back to how seamlessly everything is cut, he finally gets his way up to the body. And they have this really, like, tragic moment where Shirley, the oldest daughter, she doesn't really break down too much, especially you wouldn't think in front of the dad. But then he starts talking to her a little bit, and then she starts crying.
Yeah.
Just him being there, her father looking at her sister, dead, in her casket.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't know what to say. And then he's like, I need to use the bathroom. And then he starts walking down the hall, and then all of a sudden he walks just right back into Hill House. And he's there, and he's looking around. I remember that scene because I was watching it with you, and I remember you saying, man, this is one big fucking walk to the bathroom. It's like, no, he's back in Hill House.
I didn't catch on yet.
Yeah,
you were high.
He thought it was just part of the house, just part of the funeral home. So it's like, the whole scene, everything about it was just really crazy. Just one thing after another. Like, you really have to pay attention at times to this show. Otherwise, you miss something, and then it's like, you don't even know where you are anymore.
Well, you touched on something, too, that I did want to talk about, and this is where we go a little bit into, not too much into film history. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this guy's resume in film. The guy who plays the father in the present time, the older actor.
Okay.
We already know Carla Gugino fucking owns this show.
Absolutely.
I think everything she's done in the past few years, she's been fucking owning.
Yes. She's
one of my favorite performances, because her and the father from the past. You know, that's the boy from E.T. He was in E.T.
What?
Yeah, the one who plays the younger version of the father. That's the boy that was in E.T. He was in
Elliot?
Legends. Yeah. He was in Legends of the
Elliot?
Fall with Brad Pitt as the brother and all that. He's been in a lot of movies. He's been around for a while.
Elliot?
Yeah. Yeah, that's him.
Wait, hold on. One more time. Elliot?
Yeah.
Yep. E.T. boy.
Was the...
That's the younger version of the dad with the fake eye contact lenses and all that. Yeah. That's him. Been in the game a long time. I was very happy with that performance.
What, Bob? Did you know this?
But the other, the person I want to talk about is I love the performance of the actor who plays the father, the older version. Yes. He's been in Hollywood a long, long time.
Yeah. Okay.
And he has kind of, I won't say as bad as Mickey Rourke, but he was one of those. He was the rising up in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and he was supposed to be the next big thing. But then, issues in Hollywood, partying or whatnot. But he's been in the game a long time, and it was nice to see him. Timothy Hutton is his name. It was nice to see him in this because I feel like he dominated that role. Yeah. As a father, like the who they casted, to see Carla Gugino play off of him, and whether it's the younger version of the dad or the older version of the dad, they're projecting the heart of this character in their scenes. But his scene in that episode, when you guys said when he walks in, and because we don't get a real sense of the dad yet, of that acting, of that character until that funeral call. You just see him when the kids are calling him on the phone, or just brief moments of him as the older version. This is the episode where Timothy Hutton steps onto the screen, and just dominates from just like his daughter's over there in a casket.
Yeah.
His kids are here in front of him, who he sees them as children.
Yeah.
But they have very real adult issues going on.
Right, yeah.
The way he's conveying his response to all of that through the episode was mind-boggling to me, because I just like with Carla Gugino's character, there's a lot of moments in that show where I fucking sympathize with her emotions. And in that episode, for him, I think that's the strongest episode in that season. I'm just like, you dominated this because I loved your performance. You really were selling that shit to me. And so I was very happy with who they cast as the matriarch and the patriarch.
Yes, absolutely.
If you didn't cast them well, that show it's got to be about them.
Yeah, exactly.
Their trials and tribulations of their children going through trauma. If they didn't sell it, the show, who knows if it would work as well as it does.
Exactly.
But I do want to comment.
But I feel like they nailed it with casting for every
in general.
In general.
In general.
Like I could not think of a single actor in here. There's characters that I did not like.
Yeah.
But like the actors still portrayed them well.
Yeah. The characters that they were supposed to be.
Yeah, which is like, I can think of, like we were supposed to do the podcast about Suspiria. And I could tell you about, like, I was not happy about some casting in Suspiria, even though I love that film. But in this show, like, there's not casting that I'm like, my biggest problem with this was the cast, was the actor that, delivered this line this way. But no, they were all very solid performances.
They all seemed, just their look, and it doesn't even really have to do with the way that the people in general look, but just through their acting, it almost made them, believable that they're related.
Oh,
like,
they're
siblings.
Absolutely.
The way their whole demeanor made it like, they grew up together, like, they're honestly, like, biologically related. They all look similar in the way, like, that they chose to act certain ways that were very similar to each other.
That was all acting, but also, like, just, like, it was amazing to me how they managed to get all actors that had that similar, they were all, like, blue-eyed and brown hair, which is not a natural occurrence.
Yeah.
Like, how did they hair dye.
Yeah.
But hair dye and eye contacts. But still, it's like,
they were so good that, that's what I liked about it. They were so good that I didn't see, like, I was embroiled in it. I believed in the family drama that was going on. I was sucked into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, for not one moment was I just like, this family's fake. Or, like, I didn't think of it as, I got lost in it. I definitely got lost in it. Yeah. That's an appreciation for the acting there.
Absolutely.
What? I don't know if this is the right time to say, but can we talk about our favorite characters?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead, sure.
You say it first.
Mine?
Yeah, you say it first.
What's the, I really like the dad. He'd be my second favorite character, but my favorite one was the brother, the oldest brother, right?
Steve?
The one who's writing the book on them?
Steve.
Yeah, the complexities of his role, because I could see his acting was phenomenal. Yeah. I actually like this guy a lot. I see him in a few other movies, and I haven't seen Game of Thrones, right?
Game of Thrones, yeah.
I won't say, he's one of those actors where I don't like all the movies that he's in. Like, he was in The Age of Adeline with Blake Lively.
I didn't even watch that one.
Not a great movie.
I don't like Blake Lively.
That's fair.
Dead in the eye.
But he's one of those actors
She's on the same level as Dakota Johnson.
We will talk Dakota Johnson. We're gonna have a chat about Dakota Johnson on Suspiria.
Dead behind the eyes.
But I will say, he's one of those actors where I've seen him in other stuff, and even though the movies are good, his performance I always dig. So on this one, I liked his characters. I thought he played that. He's walking a line in that show as the sibling who is trying to distance himself from the trauma, and he thinks that's helping him. His whole arc is just like accepting. It's even hard for me to put into words, like the complexities of what he's going through. He's trying to keep it together, even though maybe you should let your freak flag fly and accept what's going on here. But he's fighting that, so that by the end of the show, I thought his character arc, the catharsis of it, of him he might be troubling to some people as a character,
Yeah.
but at the end of the show, who did the father pick to take on the mantle of like, this is what the house is, and you're the oldest
Right.
sibling. I need you to grow the
I
couple.
have some stuff to say.
That's no, you say it. that
that goes into like the kind of patriarchal kind of shit of like the eldest son gets to
and what would it be the same if one of his daughters was the oldest?
Exactly. Like,
well, I mean, I want to assume I looked at it as just the eldest. That's how I looked at it, but I could see that there's definitely an argument. That's where you could go into the psychology of like patriarch, matriarch, what's better, what's where, all that. But just how he conveyed that, the confusion he was having. I like seeing his performance of like, I'm fighting this shit, even to the point of I'm pushing you all away from me, and then him realizing I can't do that. I can't do it. I think he conveyed that really well. I liked his performance among the sea of great performances, but I've seen that kind of character arc in real life, and so that's why I kind of like I saw that and I was like, damn, I get that. I see what's going on there.
Right.
So that was my favorite character. That was my deal.
Yeah. And I guess in a way, in defense of what you're saying, a little bit, is that throughout the show, like especially flashbacks to when he's a kid, he was always like his one thing, and I think what his big catch up when he's an adult is like, all I wanted to do was help my dad.
Yeah.
I was just trying to help, and he pushed me away.
Yeah.
And that's like his big hitch. Like that's why he's in a way. Oh my god.
What?
The cat.
My cat is
That cat just peering around us around the corner from the shadows.
just eyes in the dark,
glowing orbs. Looking at me. Oh, so sweet. But, okay. A ghost. See, that's the kind of shit that you would see in the show. Just stuff in the background. You're just chilling doing a podcast. And then all of a sudden, you look in the corner of your eye and you see a mouth just licking its chops and some glowing orbs.
Oh man.
Anyways, Steve, he just wants to help his dad at the end of the day. And I think maybe that's why, out of all of the siblings, he was the most angry with his father. Because he was like, you are a liar. You know what I mean? You said that you loved me, and I put all this energy into trying to be a good son, and you threw it away, and you pushed me away. And that's like his big thing. And so in a way, his father does that for him. In the end, he sets him free by saying, look, this is exactly what happened. What you've always wanted to know.
Yes.
I'm giving this to you, and I'm also giving you the responsibility that you've always wanted. So it's like he wanted that role the entire time.
Right.
So it's kind of like, it might be sexist. There is a little bit of sexism sprinkled in there. Absolutely. But there's also the fact that out of all of the siblings, he was always ready to take that responsibility.
Right. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I get that. I definitely get that. Especially from hearing your perspective. Watching the show, man, I wanted to smack the shit out of Steve.
I hated Steve.
I
really
upset
hated
with Steve a lot.
So here's my issues with Steve is that he was always just like, we need to talk about that night. And then like everybody would like be like, well, okay, let's talk about it. He'd be like, no, shut up. I don't want to hear your story. I don't want to talk about that night.
Yeah. Absolutely. But that's hung up on his own personal trauma. Like he's like, why won't my daddy tell me the secret? Yeah, for sure. Like that's his very like baby sort of perspective on the whole situation.
And that's just my psychology.
And then he like
people
saw
being honest.
the ghosts, and then he was like writing the novels and everything, and was like, I didn't see anything, but I'm gonna say that I did in these fictional novels and make a whole lot of money on them, and then tell all my siblings that they're stupid.
That episode when they reveal that some of them took the money.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah, you did. Shit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, we all would.
If you said I can cut you a check because I used your story,
I'd be like, you're a fucking asshole, but I'll take that goddamn money.
Yeah, okay, listen. This is where I connect with Shirley. And I know you guys both aren't really into Shirley.
Shirley.
Okay.
Oh, the
oldest
I like
one
her.
of the oldest sisters. I connect with her in a sense where she has a very strong sense of morality and dignity and a lot of pride. And her pride isn't necessarily like a very good thing that's reflected in her life, but also it's what's kept her family together. She started a business. She's made it completely on her own. She's supporting one of her other siblings.
Absolutely.
You know, so in a way, like Steve is kind of a jackass through all of this. Sorry, Marcus. But he's being a jackass, and she's sort of like the backbone. Like, while Nell is still alive, like, she's picking up those phone calls. She is the one finding out whether her younger brother is in freaking rehab or not.
Right, yeah.
She's the
one
who's
paying for his
Yeah, she's
rehab.
the one who's letting her other sister live under her house rent-free. Like, regardless of her own hiccups, like, she's still the one that's, like, fighting her own battles every single day and being a mom and being a wife and just whatever. So it's kind of like, and then, if you really want to go back on our character, that whole episode with the kitten, with the beetle crawling out of the kitten's mouth, that was intense.
Yes.
That was a really crazy,
Absolutely.
creepy, chilling metaphor of life and death.
Yes.
And that was, it's what I love so much about her character is that she's so immersed in the concept and the visuals behind death.
Yes, I know, and I love that. And then I love the episode where with her mom's funeral,
Yes.
where the mortician, was like, took her down the aisle because she was too afraid to like see her mom with her like face bashed in and everything, and he takes her up, and she was like, oh my god, like you fixed her, and then that's what inspired her to become a mortician as well. Is because she he made her better.
And she's in a way she's taking that horrible experience and she's like, I can make this better.
I can make this better. Yeah,
I can learn how to do this, and I could make people feel better. But the same way that I felt better in this moment because he made my mom not look so scared.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
In a way, that's why I related to that character the most.
Yeah.
Out of all of
so she was like your favorite character.
No, actually, my favorite character out of all of them is Luke. Luke is my favorite character because out of all of them, he has his own trials and tribulations, with drug abuse, but at the end of the day, the only thing that he really felt throughout the whole thing was like just love for his sister.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he just, even though things got scary or like he had all these horrible memories of the house and like his family, he was just like, I love my sister. I need my twin. Like he had such an identity with his sibling that it made the whole situation in a way like okay for him because he had his other part. That's why, and he was a pure soul, just like Nell. They were both really sad stories. Bad things happened to them, but they were good people at the end of the day. And that's why I liked him the most. Because at the end, even though he struggled, he really stepped up to the plate. Yeah. And even though he failed at burning down the house, he still went there and was like, fuck this. Fuck this. Like, my sister is dead. It's time for a day of reckoning. He left the house and he didn't buy heroin with his sister, but with his sister's money. He went to go buy gasoline to burn that house down. None of them did that. In all of the years that they were alive and all the years that they suffered, he went past his heroin addiction and the need to get away from that situation. He said, this is what I need to get done no matter what it costs. And that's why I really appreciated his character.
Well, I do want to comment on the younger siblings, the twins.
Yeah.
And this is where, like, I don't know if it's the same for yours, because you have a younger sibling. Like, I have a younger sibling. And, like, I really like those two characters because both of them in their own ways are really the heart of the family.
Yeah.
They're the most sensitive ones. And that reminded my younger brother. Because sometimes I gotta do things for my family or whatnot, and I won't lie, I do it with kind of like, fuck. But my younger brother is definitely the most compassionate and sensitive person I know because he'll do everything without complaining. He'll be there for family. It's not a chip on his shoulder. He does it lovingly, and I don't know. That's why I was curious. I don't know if it's the same for you, but I just love how they captured that younger sibling. And I've seen it in a lot of in my other families where there's multiple siblings, where it's like the youngest one is usually very sensitive, compassionate, like the true, like, if there's a family fight, my younger brother would be the one like trying to fight it with love. While I'm getting frustrated, my older brother is getting frustrated, my parents are getting frustrated. We have fucking egos, but he's the one that's just like, man, we shouldn't even be doing this. You know? That's where I had an emotional pull, where I did feel something for the siblings, where I'm like, that's why their stories were tragic to me. Nell's story is tragic to me.
They both got
She's a
fucked
beautiful
over.
soul. They were both beautiful souls that were, in their own ways, trying to battle with whatever was going on in the family, whatever was going on in the house.
Yeah.
And it did a number on them.
And
that's
in a
not right.
way, that's the reason why they were defeated the most out of all their siblings, because they were the energies, the most positive energies in the house that were fighting that evil,
They were
like
taking the
head to
brunt of
head,
it.
head to
They were
head,
taking the
like
brunt of it.
it was back and forth, and so at the end, the house knew that they had to defeat those two.
Yeah.
Out of all the siblings,
Yeah.
if they knocked out those two, then they would have all of them.
Yeah, exactly right. Because Nell had the bent neck lady, and
that was so tragic.
and
Oh my
then
God.
Luke had the tall man.
Yeah.
You know, and
And-
they faced them like face to face, whereas the older siblings didn't really
Yeah, they didn't really
see anybody like.
They felt
they
it, but they
felt
didn't see
and
anybody.
they saw glimpses of ghosts, but they didn't see them face to face. That's a very interesting, kind of an analogy of like,
I did feel something with them a lot.
Absolutely. That they kind of took the blunt. Yeah, because I wondered about like how the older siblings kind of denied what was actually going on, whereas the youngest,
They were accepting.
They accepted that, yes, this house was haunted. Like, we saw these ghosts. Like, we saw it. This was happening, and the oldest were like, no,
ignored it. Tried to forget about it.
Absolutely just
like
ignored
their
it.
issues as adults stemmed from just like their own insecurities and shit, but the kids felt the demons.
Exactly.
They saw the demons. They were just like, and this is fucking up my real life.
Yeah.
She found love. He went into fucking drug addiction. It's like, holy, it's very profound.
Yeah, exactly.
Very profound.
And then the middle child was just like, I know all this shit's going on.
I know, she's just fucking the rebel and shit. Like,
I'm just gonna
this is
drink.
bullshit.
I'm gonna wear gloves.
Which I like that too.
I'm not gonna do anything about it. I'm gonna mooch off my sibling and
she
get
goes
my
to,
degree.
Yeah,
both my
be
siblings.
a doctor.
I'm gonna take my brother's money. I'm gonna live in my sister's house for free. So that brings me to my favorite character, Theo.
That's awesome.
Because I am also a middle child. Who just like, I love that she did that. You know, she was overly sensitive, and she put up these walls, you know, to everybody, but she was like, I'm going to take my brother's money, I'm going to get my fucking PhD. I don't know. I love the way that she delivered that line, too. Like, I'm getting my fucking PhD. And then, you know, lived in her sister's house and was like, convinced herself that it was like, you know, more for her sister than it was for her.
She kept calling them out on bullshit, too.
Oh, yeah,
like, no
absolutely.
Nonsense.
No nonsense
No
whatsoever.
Cool.
No. She was my favorite character for sure.
And as a kid too, the childhood performance. Well, first of all, the performance from all of the kids.
All the kids.
Is amazing.
Oh my God.
Like
it's amazing.
Yeah.
But her performance as a child, the parallel between the two was very powerful. Absolutely. And she, in a way, was kind of, even though she was the middle child, she was the one that was kind of like, like something might be happening here. And you could almost see her walls building up even right then as it was happening. So it's kind of like it was a perfect segue into her adult life. It's like you automatically knew who they were, even though they're completely different actors who already were able to link up all their personalities.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good.
Yeah, they were all good characters.
That's what.
I'm glad that we all have different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the test. You can acknowledge just. I won't say like some characters frustrated me, but I'm just like they all have their. That's why I like the analogy. Everyone in life has their trials and tribulations they're dealing with, you know, and you sympathize with kind of all of them. You're just like, fuck, man. They're each facing something from their childhood, as we all are. You know, even to this day, there are things that we all have to deal with from our past and whatnot that maybe we haven't even acknowledged yet. But that's the difficulty of maybe being a human and coming from families, and families aren't easy, you know.
No, especially not in a house like that.
Yeah.
Especially not in a haunted house.
Jesus. Yeah, no.
But I think about that sums it up. If you guys have any, you guys liked it.
Yeah.
We liked it a lot.
Absolutely.
You've watched it twice.
I've watched it twice
And
now. Yeah.
Have you revisited episodes?
I've revisited episodes,
Okay.
but I haven't watched the whole thing all together
Okay.
twice.
And I definitely plan on watching it twice. Thank you guys for being guests. Thanks for the opinions.
Thank you.
I guess in closing, I actually really like this episode. I can't wait to post it. But in closing, I like the final message of the film where, if nothing else, be kind. When you go out in the world, you don't know what people are dealing with. You don't know why they might be in a shit attitude. But, you know, try and treat everyone with a little bit of compassion and dignity. And, yeah, if nothing else, just be kind. So this has been the Haunting of Hill House episode 3 of 2019. I'll see you guys again for when... hopefully we can do the Suspiria one next week. I really want to get that. I have strong feelings about the remake of Suspiria.
Me too.
And these are some of the people you've heard tonight that will be on that one.
I'll be there.
Me too.
And then after that, I will be discussing Happy Death Day to You. Looking forward to that one. There's a lot of good horror movies coming out. After that, The Prodigy, and then I think after that, Pet Sematary. So plenty more episodes to come. But we'll catch you guys all later. This has been the Horse Train Podcast.
Bye.
Bye.